And welcome to Malaysia as we head into the all-important qualifying session. The drivers are raring to go and we're just waiting for the lights to go green to signify the start of the qualifying hour. Last year we saw a wonderful race here in Malaysia and I'm expecting another fascinating weekend to come here in Kuala Lumpur.
Well, there are at least 3 or 4 other drivers that could be strong contenders for a front row start tomorrow. So it's difficult to predict who will come out on top, but it's certainly going to be an exciting qualifying session today.
It was a good qualifying session for Jenson Button in the McLaren Honda, qualifying in an impressive 11th place. However, his teammate Alonso was definitely off the pace in 16th. Sergio Perez was another person who couldn't perform on the day, qualifying all the way down in 15th. The star of the show, however, was Valtteri Bottas, who qualified in a very impressive 3rd place, only a few tenths off the times of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen has qualified all the way down in 8th place, however that is definitely better than his previous qualifying session where he qualified in 14th in Australia. But without further ado, let's get straight to the race.
Good afternoon and welcome from Sepang for what is going to be a fascinating race. It's the Malaysia Grand Prix. On pole today is Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes was dominant during qualifying and with the power unit advantage, well, you just can't see anybody challenging for that race win today.
He'll want to end this weekend on a high after yesterday's fantastic performance, but he's going to have a lot of competition. I doubt he'll be expecting an easy race, especially considering the teams around him.
Looking beyond the front couple of rows, who else do you think is on for a good race today?
I thought Felipe Massa's long run pace in practice looked strong, and he also had good single lap performance in qualifying yesterday. I'm sure he'll be wanting to convert that into points today.
So here we are on the grid for this Malaysian Grand Prix. This is Elliott Splash, and if you do like this video, do not forget to like, comment and subscribe. It would mean a lot. This is going to be a difficult race. I'm going to predict that from the start. Malaysia is not one of my favourite circuits. I do struggle a lot, especially in the 3rd sector. That's where I lose all my time. I think the AI are around about a second faster than I am. However, let's get to the race. We're on the grid now waiting for the 5 lights to go out for this Malaysian Grand Prix. And it slides out and it looks like we've had a decent start. Losing the rear end slightly there with a bit of wheel spin, but nothing too serious. So we've dropped down to 9th as Naz has had quite a decent start. And now we're going to try and go around the outside of a few cars like Daniel Ricciardo and Kvyat. It looks like we might dispatch Ricciardo coming to the inside of this corner, and it looks like there's a little bit of a scrap going on. They're going almost 4 wide on the exit of that corner. Kvyat's going extremely slow as long, and also is Hamilton. So we've overtaken Hamilton, Kvyat, and it looks like we might just get Vettel as well. Do we? No, he's still on our outside. So we are now up to 5th place, but we're right behind Vettel. We may be able to have a chance to overtake him shortly. It looks like we're going to have a better exit through this corner. We might get him before the next one. It's a tricky double corner, this one, as I run wide. I'm taking a little bit too much speed into the corner, but it looks like we've held on to the position and we're up to 4th place. Let's look at Valtteri Bottas's absolute beast of a start. He just gets such a good launch, no wheel spin whatsoever, an almost perfect launch. And that puts him into 1st place before the 1st corner, and it looks like he's held off the Mercedes coming through the exit of that little chicane. Now let's look at another replay of a different angle of Massa overtaking the 2 Mercedes. It just seemed like they bogged down a little bit, as you can see. Roman Grosjean there weaving a little bit, and you can see is that a Toro Rosso, a Force India, taking a nice dive bomb and spinning out on the rear of a Sauber. And there's that little battle there between the Ferrari, Williams and Red Bull, and you can see us here coming round the outside. We try and overtake Kvyat, we touch his front wing and we send him into a spin and pushed him out of the race. That definitely was our fault, but luckily enough we didn't get a penalty. So here we are on lap 2, overtaking Rosberg. As you can see, the rain is slightly falling. It started around about the mid-lap of 1, so we're going to have to switch to intermediate tyres at some point in this race, but the question is, when will that be? See, this is what's going to mess this race up, and this probably would help us in the long run if we can get the strategy just right then we may be in a fighting chance of winning this Grand Prix or scoring some decent points. Lap 6, I decide it's definitely time to come in for some intermediate tyres. I felt like it was the crossover period. I was losing probably around about 5 seconds a lap at the end of lap 5, so we did an extra lap just to make sure that the intermediate tyres wouldn't burn out really quickly. So here we are in our box waiting for our intermediate tyres to be put on, and we've set out, and that was a 2.3 second pit stop. Absolutely amazing by my pit crew, and it looks like we're going to come out in 8th place. No, we're not, because we've still got the second gear glitch. Every time you come out of any pit lane, you get a second gear glitch, and I forgot to do an instant replay to cure that bug. However, we've come out now behind Rosberg and Maldonado. We've dropped down to P10. However, we've got the intermediate tyres, and I've got a feeling those options are definitely going to start struggling. It's lap 7 now, so they're starting to lose their amount of grip anyway. And also factor in the wet conditions that we are now having to drive in, it's going to make it extremely difficult for these two cars in front of us to stay up to pace. As you can see, we're just catching up so much. We're going to dispatch Rosberg from around about 2 seconds away at previous corner. Maybe we'll get Maldonado as well. Yes, we do. So we're now into 8th place, and it definitely was the time to come in for the intermediate tyres. So at the end of the lap, Sainz Jr. I believe is now going into the pits to pick up his intermediate tyres, and I think the rest of the field have decided to pit. So it looks like we just got the strategy bang on then, and it looks like now where are we going to come out? Maybe 2nd place. Yes, we've overtaken one of the Williams. We are into 2nd place. There's only Valtteri Bottas in front of us now. So we are in front of Massa, and he's still going to heat up his intermediate tyres and get used to the conditions, whereas we've had already a lap to get used to the conditions. Now we skip to lap 11. It looks like Massa is coming back at us. We're going to try and go around the outside, take the long way round, hopefully carry a little bit more speed, but then we'll have the inside line for the 2nd corner. And it looks like we've got the move done, have we? Oh no, he's still there on the outside of the corner, and it looks like he's out dragging us, because when we came into the pits for our intermediate tyres, we also had extra downforce added, because I knew more downforce when it was wet would be a good idea, just to keep the car planted to the ground and stopping us from spinning out. But we've got the move done, we've got the place back, we're now up to 3rd place. However, lap 12, we've gone wide, I believe, into the 1st corner. That may have given Massa the position. We're going to try and overtake him on the inside line again, where he gets a better exit with that Mercedes power unit. So we are now back down to 3rd place, but it's still a podium position. We're going to put our fuel mixture up to rich mix, so we can try and hopefully get this position back. We have definitely gained on Massa. He pulled away a little bit, but we're catching him in the corners. He's getting away in the straights. So we're going to try and get him in the next few corners, but hopefully before sector 3, because that's where we definitely do struggle. We're also faster through these sets of corners than the AI are for some reason. Maybe that's because I've got extra downforce on, I'm not sure. But as you can see, when we get to a straight, he just out drags us down to the straight, down to the braking zone. So I can't really do anything, especially in sector 3 where you've got the 2 DRS straights, where I cannot do anything. So I believe we're going to have to give up on this place. These tyres are losing grip now. I did put these on a lap earlier than all the AI. On lap 13 you can see Vettel just overtaking us like a breeze. But we're going to dive into the pits. Hopefully we make the pit box. I wanted to come in for some intermediate tyres. However, I forgot to select intermediate tyres, and the pit crew decided they wanted me on prime tyres. So that means that the pit crew think I can last 14 laps on a set of prime tyres. That's going to be extremely difficult, especially as Jeff, our race engineer, told us half a lap ago that the conditions were still wet and intermediate tyres are the right tyres to be on. So you can see here on our outlap that we are extremely struggling with the conditions. We're having to go so slowly. All the time we made up by pitting a lap earlier for them intermediate tyres has been lost, and some more, by putting on the set of prime tyres a little bit too early. There is a little bit of grip, as you can see we're having oversteer quite a lot. However, there's not enough grip to go onto prime tyres at all. It's going to be extremely difficult to keep this on the track. As you can see, I'm just fighting with the rear end constantly. So hopefully we can keep this on track and not crash out. But on lap 16, the tyres are coming to me, and it looks like we've just come out of the pits. Our teammate has, has come out of the pits, and he's in third place, and that's Massa there as well. So we haven't lost too much time, because before we pitted, they were right behind us, right in front of us. So we are definitely catching up on them, and they've got to get used to the conditions of the prime tyres being on this wet circuit. It's still not fully dry yet. There is a little bit of rain still falling, so the circuit isn't fully dry yet, so it's still tricky conditions, and we're going to try and overtake Vettel before we get to the DRS straight. Maybe Massa as well. Oh, it gives us the room. Thank you for the position, Massa. I love you too. So we're now up to second place. We're back up to second. However, that doesn't last long, as Massa overtakes us on lap 20 in the DRS straight. We forgot to take our downforce off, so we are struggling on these straights. Even with DRS open, Massa can pull away from me, and he hasn't even got DRS. So we're now down to 4th place, but all's not lost yet. We're going to try and brake later than the rest of the field. We go wide into the first corner. Maybe we can overtake Vettel in the second part of this corner. No, we cannot. So we're down to 3rd place, but we're up to rich mix, I believe. So we might be able to stay on the back of Vettel. However, that doesn't happen, and at the end of the lap, Massa overtakes us once again in the DRS straight, and you can see the speed advantage that Massa has with that Mercedes power unit and running a lower downforce package. So it's going to be extremely difficult to keep up with these guys, and I've still got to last 7 more laps on these tyres. That's going to be difficult on its own. I mean, I could pit now for a set of options, but how much time am I going to lose pitting? Around about 20 seconds? I'm not going to be able to gain that back in 6-7 laps. So I'm going to have to try and make these tyres last as long as possible. On lap 25, I've been on these tyres now for 11 laps, and you can see Rosberg has caught up to the back of us after his dreadful start and having his issues. So we are now down to 5th place. We've got DRS. We may be able to catch Rosberg up, but I extremely doubt it. You can see how worn the front tyres are, especially the front left. It's totally red. There's still 2.5 laps to go, so as we lose the rear end through this chicane section, almost losing it about 2 or 3 times, having to go full opposite lock. So we skip all the way now to lap 28. We've made these tyres last. We are lapping extremely slowly. I think we're lapping around about 1 minute 44. We've fallen off the cliff. But Valtteri Bottas has won his first Grand Prix, and it's probably the first win for Williams in about 2 years, 2-3 years. So congratulations to them. We're going to finish in a solid 5th place. Okay, it could have been better, but with our tyre wear issues, and it has been an extremely difficult race. We haven't had the pace. It's not one of my favourite tracks. I cannot do the 3rd sector, so 5th place I'm actually quite happy with. I'd settle for that any day. So we're going to come across the line for a solid 5th place, and Valtteri Bottas wins his first Grand Prix. So here we are in Parc Ferme, parking up the car, and see, Raikkonen's happy with 5th place. We could have had 2nd, but we didn't crash out or anything. We just didn't have the pace at the end of the race.
Well done to Valtteri Bottas, who's won today's race. Congratulations to him and the Williams team for a fantastic performance.
It really was a wonderful performance, and one that the team will be celebrating for some time to come.
That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.
And it's goodbye from me as well. This has been Elliott Splash. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Next up is China. That should be coming out either today or tomorrow. I'm not too sure yet. It depends when I have the time. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, comment and subscribe. And this is Elliott Splash, signing out.